we have with us Dr. Sanjeev Sharma. He's a professor in University Institute of Applied Management Sciences, Punjab University, Chandigarh. So may I call upon our Dean to welcome the guest again, please. Thank you, sir.
Good morning once again. I am really happy to see my friend Dr. Sanjeev Sharma is addressing our research scholars who is such an eminent person. Of course, I have shared my feeling also. More than 40 plus PhDs. It's I can't even think. For my age, I have produced only two, I think. So it's a great moment for the research scholars to have such an eminent person who has a vast experience in academic industry. For example, more than 30 plus years and doing lot of projects for this university. Such an eminent person addressing for our research college. It's a great moment, I can say. And of course, I wanted to thank him personally for accepting our invitation and to be amongst us for today's session. Really thankful to you, Professor Sanjeev, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think we can talk a lot, but due to time restrictions, I'm limiting myself. Yes, Vidya. Yes, in a minute, please introduce our.
Yes, I'm trying my best. Sure. So it's really an honor to introduce our chief guest, Dr. Sanjeev K. Sharma, Professor, University of Institute of Applied Management Sciences, Punjab University, Chandigarh. He did his BSc in Biochemistry from Punjab University, Chandigarh, his MSc Biochemistry in Punjab University, Chandigarh. He was a silver medalist. He did his MBA in Management from Banaras University. He did a gold medalist. He did his FDPM Management from IIM Ahmedabad. He did his doctorate in Management from Punjab University, Chandigarh, and his LLB from Punjab University, Chandigarh. His professional experience, he started his career as a product executive from Blackstone India Limited, Noida. He then worked as a lecturer in University Business School, Punjab University. He was a reader. He was a reader in University Business School, Punjab University, Chandigarh. He was a professor in University Business School. And then he worked he's currently a director and a professor in UIAMS, Punjab University, Chandigarh. So he's guided 44 research scholars till now and 5 postdoctorate fellows. Some of his positions he has held and holding. He's a founder, coordinator, and director of UIAMS, Punjab University, Chandigarh. He was a dean and faculty of business management and commerce in Maharaja Ranjit Singh Punjab Technical University. He was a coordinator of Unnat Bharat Abhiyan, Punjab University. He's a member in academic council in Gurugram University. He's a member of board of management in Maharaja Agrawal University, Delhi. He's a member research board of GCS World University, Vaddi University of Emerging Sciences and Technology, and Rayat and Vahara University. He's coordinated government academia interface with government and union territories of Chandigarh on behalf of Punjab University. He's an editorial board member of Asian Journal of Education and Psychology, Indian Journal of Psychology, and NICE Journal of Business. His publications and projects, he's published over 70 research papers in peer-reviewed international journals, 3 research publications in books, and 10 research projects undertaken. His contributions at institutional level, he's executive member in Punjab University Alumni Association, he's vice president of Punjab University Staff Club, he's offered training and consultancy to many recognized organizations like Chandrabank, Trident, and so on. He's handled major research projects sponsored by UGC, AIC Industries. He's attended over 45 conferences and he has been invited as chair session to 25 conferences. Some of his academic responsibilities: academic coordinator for UIAMS, joint coordinator of MBA at Punjab University Regional Center, member of expert committee to inspect management institutes by AICTE. He's conducted various faculty development programs for the management faculty of 5 AICTE recognized management institutes, and he has coordinated refresher courses on commerce and business management organized by the University Business School and Academic Staff College, Punjab University. So on behalf of Dr. MGR Education and Research Institute, we really thank him for gracing us with his presence and wish him good luck for his future endeavors. I would like to call Dr. Sanjeev
Thank
to
you.
take over the session, please.
Right. Thank you, Vidya.
Thank you,
Am I audible? It's okay?
Yes,
it's okay?
sir, you are.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Vidya.
Yes, sir.
First of all, let me thank Dr. Mani for inviting me. He's an old friend, and my participants. My request is whatever Vidya has told you about me, take it with a pinch of salt. Friends always talk positive things about others. I let my work speak. Since I have been given 1 hour, so I will like to make my presentation into 2 parts. I will like to spend around 40 minutes on sharing my views with you, and another 15-20 minutes for discussions, because that is the format what has been given to me. But in case there are some pressing questions, my request is please put it on the chat box. I will like to answer there itself. Vidya, if you permit, I will like to share my screen.
Yes, sir. Ganesha?
Yes, sir, you can start.
I will just. Ganeshji, it's okay?
Yes, sir. Presentation mode, sir.
It's okay now. Fine. It's okay?
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay. So let me start. Friends, before I start, I will like to give 1 or 2 lines about my university. This is a panoramic view of my university, Punjab University. It was established, it's the 4th oldest university in India, established in the year 1882 at Lahore, which is now in Pakistan. In fact, this is known as, in India, it is known as a refugee university, because we have changed our location 9 times. 9 times we have been dislocated and relocated and dislocated and relocated. So presently, from 1955 onwards, we are at in Chandigarh, which is a twin capital of both Punjab and Haryana. It has got 85 teaching departments, close to 5 lakh plus students, and close to 1100 plus faculty members. Okay. Now, I will like to make my presentation into 4 components. First, I will like to highlight the societal aspect of research. The previous session by Professor Badri, he talked about the quantitative aspects of research. What I will like to do is, what is its societal implications? As a teacher, I am lost. Every day when I go to the class, I am lost. As a researcher, I am lost. Why? Should I teach what I know, or should I teach what my students should know? Similarly, as a researcher, I am lost. Should I do a research in an area where I'm passionate about, or should I do a research which has got societal implications, societal requirements? We as a developing country cannot afford to follow our passion. Sorry, I'm making a very strong statement. We cannot afford to follow our passion. We have to take into account the societal needs, the requirements of the emerging India. As we move along into the 2020s, my feeling is that if mankind has to survive, especially post-COVID, it must have an Eastern orientation. So philosophically, spiritually, technologically, world has to look towards India as the future knowledge powerhouse. So I will like to divide my presentation into 4 components: societal aspects of research, industrial aspects or commercial aspects of research, the hidden agenda of collaborative research, and the ethical ramifications of research. So I know it's more like mixing the things together, but I will like to have a seamless presentation into it, a seamless link into these 4 things. And again, my request to all participants, I know it is slightly off the track, because for last 3 days you have been doing most of the quantitative aspects, and I'm taking you to a qualitative aspect of research. Bear with me. I can assure you that it will be worth spending 1 hour. Okay. How I will make a presentation? I will link the emerging environment. What is the emerging environment? It is not only COVID. This thing has happened for last almost now 5 to 6 years. There is volatility in the system. There is uncertainty in the system. On one day, oil prices reach almost $0 rate that you have to pay to keep the oil because so much oil is flowing. And on the other hand, there is countries like India where oil is almost 90 rupees to a liter. So uncertain environment. So what do we do out of these things? Second, whether you agree or not, any aspect, be it biology, be it medicine, be it automobile, be it mechanical, any aspect, there is an inbuilt technology enabler. So technology is emerging as a great enabler. If Mani remembers his days as PhD, the major source of collection of the review of literature was chemical abstracts, which used to come every week, a packet of around 1400, 1500 pages. And we used to use that cards to write those. But now everything is available just on click of a mouse. So we are now working in an interconnected, interdependent, and interdisciplinary environment. So what are its research implications? And third aspect will be how to recalibrate research for industrial applicability. How to find out the right mix. Should I do a research which will find its buyer, or should I first find out the buyer and find out its research needs? So that is the aspect which we need to highlight on. And then there are ethical dimensions which are inbuilt into the system. We need to be careful about them. And then I will like to share certain success stories where organizations in research have joined together with organizations in business and come out with new business models. A very good example is Dunlop. How Dunlop developed a whole city around polymers. Whole University of Akron is built upon the Dunlop Foundation. That's in fact known as a polymer city. So what are the future landscapes for young budding researchers? Because out of this 600, I have heard that around 50% of you are those who are pursuing PhD or are at the different levels of doing research. But let me make an opening comment, friends. Real research starts post PhD. That is, sorry, I'm making a sweeping statement. So when I'm doing a research, I'm doing a research in a very volatile way. Howsoever, I am interconnected. If I send a research paper today and my friend sends a research paper tomorrow, his research paper gets published before me, my data becomes redundant. So we are friends, we are not talking of days, we are not talking of hours, we are talking of nanoseconds. Even research is having an impact like that. It's a very complex world, because then there are journals also which are becoming more and more specific. So finding out a journal to share your experiences, to share your data is equally important. And then there is certain ambiguity. The research which leads to certain benefits, only that type of a research is given weightage in most of the countries, especially in Brazil. So friends, by the way, this is off the cuff. VUCA has emerged from the army, basically used for businesses, but now increasingly being used in research. Now, this is the data which most of you are aware of, but is the foundation on which I will build my research hypothesis. India ranks 6th. This is a 2019 data. So 2020 data by Indian Science and Technology Institute has not come up. So it's like a Department of Science and Technology. So I am only depending on 2019 data, but which is the recent one. So India is ranked 6th in terms of scientific publications, number of research papers we publish. We rank 10th in terms of patents. And these are those patents which are filed in India. Please remember, it's a very, very encouraging sign, because Indians have also realized the benefits of patenting their work. we are ranked 13th in terms of quality of research output, fairly good in terms of natural sciences. But what is more important is the science and technology, the engineering aspect, where we now rank third. And please remember, this is a quantum jump. We were not even in first 15 in 2010. So in last 7-8 years, we have made a quantum jump. Although our innovation index is fairly low, we are somewhere in the top 25% of the world, but we are at the fag end of those 25%. And our expenditure on R&D is absolutely low. It is just 6.6% of our GDP spending. But I think for a developing country, if you put it into the rupee terms, it's fairly good. Now, as I said that I will also like to share with you certain success stories. I will like to share one of the most important success stories, which to me is one of the best, is Toyota. Now, friends, Toyota is in an extremely competitive environment. Automobile industry is considered to be one of the toughest business areas to operate in. Do you know what it does? It takes its competitors to its R&D units, to its plants. Why? Because they realize that if typically I would never have taken them, my competitors, into my plant. Why? Because I was afraid that they will copy my unique things. You know what is the thinking of Toyota? Toyota says that if they visit my plant and identify certain weakness, I will gain. And second, even if they don't share my weakness, they take good points from me and go back to their plants and implement those. What will happen? Whole of the industry will gain. The confidence of customers in the industry will improve. That will force Toyota also to improve still further to maintain its leadership. See, very unique way of looking at the things. Sharing everything with your competitors. We all in management, we all worship Jack Welch, who was one of the pioneers in General Electric. See the name. The name of the company is General Electric, and they are into 240 plus product categories, including software development. And it is one of the most admired companies in the world. And please remember, Jack Welch, as a technocrat, he never dabbled into the technology. He said, my job is to develop talent. I basically want my research team to think differently. I'm a gardener. I'm only providing them the support system. Yes, if some of them do not perform, I don't feel shy in removing them. So please, in this particular statement, there is an underlying meaning that even a research need to be tasked. Research needs to have a target. You cannot do research endlessly. It must have certain end result. Now, when I'm talking of research, I am reminded of the VUCA. There is no distance now in terms of either in terms of collaboration or in terms of sending my research paper. Even the world is in a scenario where I can easily share my findings. And we are working in a knowledge. Am I audible to all clearly? Mani? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Agnesh ji, any issues on
crystal
the
clear,
audio
sir.
front?
Crystal clear.
Okay, fine, good.
Excellent, sir. Please.
Thank you. So we are working in an economy which is knowledge-based, where we have to move, where knowledge is the next mantra for success. And please remember, business is taking shape at the speed of a light. Bill Gates once commented that I'm doing business at the speed of light. That if something comes to my mind, if I do not implement tonight, somebody else will do it tomorrow morning. And if you, just out of curiosity, if you pick up the top 25 companies in the world, friends, there is a Forbes list. There is a journal by the name of Forbes, which in the month of July, it comes out with top 25 companies. You'll be very surprised to know, after those 25 companies, There are 20 companies which have been among the top 25 companies for almost 2 decades. That means it is very difficult to dethrone a king. Somebody who has made a mark for itself will always remain a leader. And then another thing as a researcher we need to be very careful is integration of technologies. Seemingly different technologies. Those technologies having no relationship at all with each other, coming together to create new business empires. Sorry, it's not a very interactive forum, but I will like to. When I ask you which is the largest selling camera, things like Kodak will come to your mind. Please remember, largest selling camera in the world is Samsung, which does not manufacture a camera, but sells close to 17.5 crore mobiles with built-in cameras. So tell me, when was the last time you purchased a camera? Nobody will remember. Now we have a camera with 4 megapixel, 16 megapixel, 32 megapixel cameras built in a mobile. So what has happened? With this particular integration of technology, lot of businesses have gone out of vogue. Lot of researches have become redundant. When was the last time you developed a photograph? You will not even remember. Even your wedding photographs, or those of you who are married, your wedding photographs will be digital. So what has happened? Companies like Kodak, which did not change their technologies, which did not do the research, they have become out of business. Why? Because what was the basic line of business of Kodak? Printing paper. When nobody is printing their photographs, what is the need of a printing paper? But on the other hand, companies like Dell, they are continuously innovating. Companies like HCL, Hindustan Computers Limited, companies like Aptech, companies like Infosys, they are continuously upgrading. So what has happened? Through this one mobile, large number of businesses have become obsolete. You do not require a scanner, you do not require an email, you do not require a printer. Most of those things have become redundant. You do not even require a typewriter. So this has led to creation of a knowledge reservoir. In Japan, there are trading houses known as shagokoshas, trading houses. What is their strength? They do not produce anything, they do not sell anything. But they have a knowledge base. They know that who in Chennai is going to produce which crop, when that crop will be available in the market, and what is the expectation of that farmer. And at the same time, they know somebody in Cuba who will require that crop, at what price he is ready to buy. What will they do? They will make buyer and seller meet and charge 1 or 2% commission from both sides. So friends, that is the type of a business we are looking at. Is our research adjusted for such things? I will say no. So friends, these are the things we as a researcher, I know I'm moving away from a classical 3-day sessions which you had on how to use a Minitab and all that stuff. But I am taking your research to the ground level. I'm taking your research to an area which you can use. Now, as a researcher, what are your skills? Please remember, what are your skills? Your skills are becoming more and more specialized. Sorry, Dr. Mani, if I take a wrong example. When we used to study, MBBS degree was considered to be the final. MBBS, oh wow, doctor. Around 1990s came the era of MD, MS, Doctor of Medicine, Master of Surgery. Then around 2000, we moved to the next level, MS, ENT. So more specialized. MS, cardiosurgery, more specialized. Now next stage is around 2020s, new stage has come. MS, cardiosurgery, balloon therapy. So What are we doing? We are going into more and ENT specialization, left ear. I don't know where we will end up being more specialized. But please remember, skills are very disloyal. The skills which you possess as a researcher in the lab may have a very short shelf life unless you are able to market that skill, unless you are able to link that skill to what is required at the ground. And please remember, skills are very degradable and disposable. When we used to do the research, doing on a piece of paper. Now, you don't even need to have a questionnaire. That questionnaire is available on a Google Doc. You need not feed that data. SPSS will automatically pick that data and convert it into a tabular form and a graphical and whatnot. You need not even find out the relationship or regression analysis. Those things are automatically done. So that means all those skills which I learned have gone down the drain. But please remember, as a researcher, focus is not on learning the techniques. Focus is on how to use those techniques. There's a wonderful message in management. Father of management, Sir Peter Drucker, he once said, that those who know how to do a job will always get a job. There's no problem if you're technically qualified, you will get a job. But those who know how to do and why to do, that is the difference. How to do, you will get a job. Why should I do that, or should I get it done from outside? That he will always lead the first one. So skills always have an urgency. There's another saying in management that you need to blow your own trumpet. You need to highlight your strengths. Otherwise, what will happen? Somebody will do that trumping part better than you and you are out of business. So friends, there is no harm in highlighting yourself. There are two ways in research, two ways. And please remember, I know there are in your group, you have people from almost every discipline. My favorite line is A to Z, anthropology to zoology. I think every discipline must have been covered by Dr. Mani and his team. So friends, as a researcher, I need to find out that part where these skills are easily transferable, where I am able to build a team. Many of us who are senior participants here, your role is that of a team leader, as a research leader, as a clique. Forming the right group is equally important. So, and please remember, whatever skills you have, they cannot be taught online. All these skills are experiential. All these skills have to be gained through knowledge and actual experimentation. And final word of caution, friends, skills are always generational. The skills required to succeed in my previous generation were different from what are required for my generation, and will certainly be different from you, those who are in the next generation. So every generation has its own skill sets. This is my paradox. This is really my paradox. There is growing inequality. And as a teacher, as a researcher, a part of that inequality I will blame on knowledge divide. There is a huge amount of knowledge divide. Friends, you will be, we feel ashamed as a teacher that only 17% of the students who do +2 actually end up doing their graduation. So somewhere down the line, 83% of these students, either because of poverty or because of the family compulsions or because of the, I will even say our education system, students back out of +2 into graduation. We need to take a care, do something about it. Either we move them into skill centers or we move them into entrepreneurship. Somewhere down the line, we need to bridge this gap, because what research shows that higher the level of knowledge, higher the level of education, better the person is not only in terms of a better human being, but also in terms of a better asset to the system. Now, why this landscape is changing? Why should I enter into a partnership for research? Friends, we are moving to a knowledge-based economy, as I said. And these knowledge-based economies will have seismic changes. Changes which you can't even predict. And please remember, and the user of my research is a business organization. And that business organization require workers who are already technology savvy. Those who have been trained at their departmental or a university level, and they are ready made to be put on the job. No company has time and energy and efforts it will spend on training the workers for their job. So every organization will like that they are ready made for taking up the responsibilities. Now, this is how the world has moved over a period of time. And India is no exception. Till 1950s, major focus was on producing agriculture. Since we were not sufficient, we were importing. That was a bad period of Indian economy. Immediately after independence, large quantity of wheat was imported by the name of PL 480. That was a slur. Then government took a conscious decision to promote agriculture universities. We had a green revolution, we had a white revolution, blue revolution, all that stuff. So we moved to the 1970s, we moved to the industrial production. So that means the research also had to shift from agriculture to the industrial base. And then in around 2000, when that 1999, there was 2K2 problem, those seniors will remember. So we leapfrogged into the information age, and India was pioneer in it. Major contributions by Indian companies. And now is the time for knowledge products. Now, if you see, there is this dichotomy of information and knowledge. Information products typically are IT-enabled services, IT products, and knowledge need not be in different. So that means we require different skill inventories for each one of them. And this is the stage of innovation. That when we move from information society into knowledge society, innovations need to take place. And what are the expectations from us, especially those of us who are into the higher education system? Interdisciplinarity. There is the concept of choice-based credit systems. People move from one branch to another. If government had its say, it will even allow an MBBS to do some courses in music, to do some courses in psychology, to do some courses in maybe foreign trade. Why not? And second thing is the impact of online education. So we have to move from wired classroom to use multimedia forms of teaching. And can research be done like this? That's a point to ponder. So I will, since time is short, I will skip few of the things, but I'm leaving my presentation with Vidya madam and Dineshji so that they will pass it on to you. And I'm available to you anytime. But please remember, tuition fee is not able to cover the cost. So what institutions have to do? They have to cut on the operating cost. And when I say operating cost, you know what is the first casualty? First casualty is the funding available for research. We have to live in an area where there are bound to be large amount of reduction in funds for research. This brings me to the second topic. How to correlate university laboratory with industry. How to link the industry with the university. And friends, if you look at this model, this is what we have been doing till now. University involved in research publications, which may or may not have societal implications. University involved in production of graduates, which may or may not improve the society. And some of the independent labs like SRL or, right, they are into their research based on their limited area. And then there is an industry which picks up ideas from anywhere in the world and uses it. So all three of them are working in silos, as if their own ivory towers, as I call it. But what do you require now? You require both formal and informal contexts. You require institutions of higher learning to collaborate with business organizations and to collaborate with society. Why? Because ultimate target for all of us is how to take care of those people who are underprivileged. Because that is the bottom line we need to work at. Now, how do we do it? How do we do it? That is a question. We need to start with having a proactive dialogue with the industry. We need to find out what industry wants and then link it with the research agency. So somebody in the organization, I'm very sure Dr. MGR Group must have done it, must need to identify what we call it as a mentor, need to identify somebody who is a liaison officer. Like in my university, we have created a wonderful group. Fortunately, I'm heading it. That is known as a CSR activity. We in Punjab University have created a corporate social responsibility group, which looks for business opportunities in entrepreneurs, which looks for business opportunities in organizations. Every company, you must be knowing, 3.5% of its profits it must spend on the CSR activity. And out of that, 1.5% can be spent in an educational institution. So it's a great source for finding out the funding for research. I know there is a separate session which organizers have arranged for it. So my take on it is every organization now needs to reconstruct its research through a collaborative approach. So this is the model I present for you for your consideration. See the bottom line. Laboratory is inbuilt into the university and industry. So you need to join. And in this laboratory, you need to conduct the research jointly. Please remember, I know it is not possible. That's why I've only put 20% of the total university research into this. But here, you need to be open. See, please remember a golden rule. Golden rule is that mind is like a parachute. It works only when it is open. You need to come out with new ideas. Because we are not starved out of funds in research. We are starved out of ideas. That is my feeling after doing almost 11 projects for corporates. So I realized that corporate is equally keen on using the university infrastructure, university intellectual capital, provided we are able to market ourselves properly. So this collaboration could be a contractual employment, could be for a particular project based 3 years, 5 years, need to have licensing arrangement, anything. So when I say ideally laboratories must be near universities, this near university does not mean geographically. It could even be through virtual mode. But what I'm more keen on is that most must be working in a symbiotic manner with common agenda and deliverables. Very important. Industry is keen on deliverables. And this is going to open new opportunities for collaboration. So friends, this is the model I submit to you for your consideration. So how do we do it? How do we actually do it? You need to restructure your revenue models. You cannot be an isolated ivory tower doing research independently. Nobody knows outside your lab that what you are doing. The only end result for us is getting a good H-index research paper. That is certainly to a researcher that gives you a wonderful kick, that gives you a wonderful platform and gives you motivation to work further. But please remember, we must also focus on doing research which we can use. So moving away from a moving towards a revenue-driven, market-responsive organization. Our research needs to have certain revenue model. No, please remember, no organization, howsoever big, no country, howsoever big, has unlimited resources for research. And as we move towards privatization and globalization, my take is with funds becoming scarce and government using those funds for different purposes, including Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan and National Rural Health Mission, and now government spending a lot of money on COVID and creating medical facilities. Next take will be on health. Next focus of government will be on health. And when more money is spent on health, with the budget remaining same, education and especially the research agencies will take a beating. Hence, my take is that in every research project, large amount of weightage will now onwards be given to the societal aspect of research. Every, be it DHT, be it ICMR, be it CSIR, have incorporated a column, its societal implications. So currently we are giving a very vague answer to such things. But as the funds dry up, as the competition increases, more and more weightage will be to deliverables. So compartmental research will shift to holistic and interdisciplinary research. Now, so that means in research organizations, what will be the focus? Focus will no longer be on producing PhDs. Focus will no longer be on producing high citation papers. Focus will be on harnessing the talent, training these people for higher responsibilities, making them creative, developing habit in them to be creative, indefatigable zeal, with a focus on societal well-being. So, teaching and research will move from just in time to just for you. Tailored. Research also will be tailored as per the requirements of that particular scenario. Yes. I've borrowed some words from strategy, from business, but I think they are worth using in research. We need to differentiate. We need to create a mission for differentiation. We need to develop distinctive competencies. There is a wonderful organization which is doing wonderful work during COVID in Delhi, Institute of Biliary Research. There is a Center for Cellular and Molecular Biology. There is a Center for Drug Research Institute, CDRI. Now, what are these? These are the brands which have the competence of being as strong a brand as Harvard or Sloan or MIT. Why? Because they are very focused. The moment organization diffuses its strength, wants to enter into everything A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, it ends up doing everything and not succeeding in any one of them. So, friends, we need to move towards the era of sustainable advantage. We need to move in the era of core competence. Develop something in which you are the best, so that everybody remembers you for that thing. So, friends, that is my take on. But I'll be very happy if all of you disagree with me, because that is the right of dissent is the biggest right as a researcher you have, right? Now, so what do? We need to continuously improve. We need to borrow from the Japanese concept. If you remember, 1944, Japan was devastated, finished. It has risen from ashes. And those people, those are my friends who are from geology, will know that it is the most earthquake-prone country in the world. Every 3 years, there is a major earthquake. But they have rebuilt themselves again and again. In fact, they call it as flight of phoenix. Phoenix is a bird which gets burnt very soon, but rises again from the ashes. So that is what we call it as business reengineering. Continuously improve. You know what Japanese government did? It created a structure by the name of MITI, MITI, Ministry of Information Technology and Industry. See the focus, information technology inbuilt into industry, and gave the concept like Kaizen and TQM and whatnot. So friends, we also need to re-engineer our research. And there is no harm in learning from best practices, benchmarking against the best. If somebody is doing wonderfully well, there's no harm in gaining from them. Send your students, send your research scholars to those institutes. Invite them to your campus, share with them. It's an investment, sir. It's an investment in future. Inviting somebody from a competitor will only bring the best out of them for you. So, and it need not be from other educational institution. It can even be from industry, different industries, divergent thinking. No. Most valuable commodity.
Sir? Vidya madam,
Yes, sir.
can you hear him?
No, sir, no. Now we can hear.
Yeah.
Hello?
It's
Sir?
okay.
Yeah, now okay, sir.
Now it's okay, sir.
Was it lost for a long period?
No,
No,
sir,
sir,
no.
what-
Just when we
Okay.
talked earlier. Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Continue,
Okay.
sir. Thank you.
Okay, fine. Then please remember, every research must have a customer orientation. A customer is, to many of us, customer is a dirty word. Customer makes it appear as if I'm into business. No, please remember, customer for me is a stakeholder. Anybody who has interest in me, anybody, it may be the shopkeeper, it may be my student, it may be the parents, it may be the industry, it may be my workers, it may be my staff. Anybody who has some interest in my organization is my customer. And you cannot have a service delivery without completion of this value chain. So we must continuously take a feedback on where are we headed. It's not just only what do we want to teach or learn. It's also how we are doing it. And on top of it, please remember, transparency and accountability of every action is very important. Now, there are certain distinctive, I'll skip some of them because time is short. If you see this graph, which I prepared for you in terms of networking for research institutions, most of the government agencies started thinking in terms of involving private educational institutions around 2000s. Most of the private institutions deemed to be universities and 2000 onwards, they have already been existing earlier, but giving them autonomy, giving them freedom to launch courses, reducing the involvement in the fee structure started around 2000s and gradually picking up. And from 2015 onwards, we started allowing foreign universities to tie up in India. Now, please remember, see the growth of the tangent has increased. Why? Because now the footprints are global. My research is being valued outside. And perhaps this is the reason, if you pick up Indian patents, if you pick up the number of research publications in high impact journals, they have also picked up around 2017-18 onwards. So friends, this is what I call it as a ripple effect, rub-off effect. Something which you do in an education system has an impact on its research contributions also. When I'm shifting from 77 in terms of global competitive index to the rank 50, part of it, I think, credit has to be given to educational institutions. Make in India program cannot succeed unless the educational institutions imbibe it. And I'm very happy to share that all educational institutions, most of the educational institutions in the country have realized their pivotal contributions and have taken a lead in it. So, in the end, few comments. Transparency, very important. Transparency in terms of financiers, telling them this is what you have given me and this is how I have used your money. And please remember, every research team must have a blind faith on each other, because all of us are part of a larger system. MGR research team is a system, but it is part of a larger research system in Tamil Nadu. It's part of a larger system in the country. It's part of a larger research domain globally. And then there are ethics. Ethics in terms of corporate governance. Ethics in terms of what is considered to be genuine and what is considered to be non-genuine. Government may say that plagiarism not more than 7% or 10% in it. But are we happy going with that type of a research, or should we have a zero tolerance towards such things? And please remember, nature has its own way of repaying back. Large number of researchers, even in the morning, Professor Badri talked about it. The role of the nature. We cannot do a research which is not sustainable environmentally also. And every organization has its own institutional values. Values in terms of commitment, in terms of ambition, responsiveness, and creativity. So this is a broad contour, a broad pyramid on which the research foundations of any organization have to be built. I would like to close with these two comments. These are the learning competencies of a researcher. This is the World Future Society, considered very noble in US. They say that they are responsible for preparing our students to address the problem which we can't even foresee. Who had foreseen in December or January that we will be locked down in India for almost 44 days? We can't even foresee. We have not even developed tools to handle this. And we don't even have a technology to do it. So that is what, as a researcher, your focus has to be. And please remember, there is similar line. Great people think alike. Albert Einstein also said the same. The problems we cannot be solved at the same level of thinking at which we have created them. So you need to go to higher level of. So I will skip certain transparencies. I will like to talk a little bit on funding. Two ways in which it can be done. One is through collaborations and second is through licensing. Licensing is when you make arrangements for combined sharing of those exploits of your industry, of your research. So what is the partnership? I call it as a crisis, convergence of minds, reliability, identifying right partners, maintaining their independent identity, synergism with each other, rules and regulations, networking, all that stuff. Okay. So what do? Bring the real world into the classroom and take the classroom back to the real world. Doing research which can be used at the grassroots level. Thank you, friends. Thank you. Now I'm open to any questions. I'm leaving my presentation. It's a long presentation, but I will request Divya madam to please share it with everybody. Ganesh ji to share with everybody. Yes, now I'm open to any questions. Sir. You can unmute yourself, or I don't know what is.
Yes, sir. Chat box is open to our participants, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Fine. Yes.
Dear,
I hope, yes. Dr. Mani, I did not disappoint you.
Sir, what is this, Professor? You have given great idea for Manivandan also. Instead of going for module-based smaller laboratories, we can go for a centralized research facility. We can cut short our budget also. Of course, first the research is actually the fund for research is reduced. Actually, your word is correct, sir. For all the universities, in order to meet the crisis, they cut short the research funds only at first level. So this centralized centralized facility is one of the greatest idea.
Vidya, can you read the questions?
Sir,
I'm
all
unable
are
to read them.
enjoying your presentation. So they said, no, we won't quit.
No,
Yes.
they will not ask me questions.
Yes, you have to ask, dear participant.
Yes, sir. Will
Yes,
your
no, no,
collaboration? Yes, sir. We have a
Vidya,
question.
Vidya, there are two ways of looking at it. Either everything is clear or nothing is clear. I don't know.
No, we have one question for you, sir.
Yeah,
Will
yeah,
your
sure.
collaboration fit psychometric tool design?
Fine, fine. See, there are two ways of looking at it, collaborations. One is a typical collaboration on a product base that the industry company wants to do a particular research. My research lab is keen on doing it, and we jointly define the problem and we jointly try to implement that. But the issue here is that such research work invariably cannot be published without the permission of the sponsor, because most of the journals have to take and note that this fund has been sponsored by so and so and so, and no research agency will like to share their funds unless you acknowledge them. So please remember that. Now, for such, if you had, I don't know whether I'll just give me a minute. I had what I had highlighted was that, see this, laboratory need not be built into the university system, but we can create an artificial or a digital laboratory wherein there is a close linkage with the industry and the university. Both of them maintain their independent identity, because university will not like to leave its space for anybody. Industry will not like to give money without reason. So why not we create a virtual laboratory wherein we share the ideas? And believe me, Mani, we are doing wonderfully well in Punjab University. We have created an incubation lab wherein we give space to students, I think 14 into 10 square feet, for as low as 3,500 a month. 3,500 is the electricity charge, yeah. But what we want to create an incubation hub. A few of the success stories I will like to share with participants, because I'm from the other end of India, so maybe experience sharing will have some gains there. We in Punjab have two crops. One is the lemon and other is the melon. You know what we did? Some of the farmers, they merged them together and created what is known as a Kinu. It is an hybrid created by a BSc student. So you understand the implications of a BSc student creating such a wonderful product. We realized that there are 14 lakh farmers who have water pumps. We call it Tulu pumps, to take out water. Here is an innovative businessman. He said, everybody is now having a smartphone. Everybody is on a WhatsApp. Let me create a business out of nothing. Maintenance of those water pumps. You know what he has done? He has created a virtual company by the name of Pump Cart. So you go to the malls in a cart to take the goods. Why not take pump also on a cart? So he has created a virtual company out of nothing. So Paytm also is a Panchkula, is a Punjab, is a Chandigarh based company. Now you understand the implications of it. None of them have been created by an industry. None of them have been created by a university. They have been created in a collaborative manner. So unless there is an information sharing and there is an honest and effort on the part of both of them to develop this synergy, this model cannot work. That is why I have very succinctly, I have drawn it in such a manner that it is part of both. Yes, absolutely right. One of the participants has said that innovations. See, mind is like a parachute. It works only when it is open. And please remember, you do not have to have a breakthrough technology. Please remember, Vidya, you need not have a breakthrough technology. A simple technology can work. My favorite line is, you do not require AK-47 to kill a mosquito. A simple hand pack will do it. We need to find out research at the grassroots level. And I wish Dr. MGR Group takes up this responsibility of preparing a note on grassroots technologies. Our farmers, our artisans, our pulkaris, our NGOs at the grassroots level are doing such innovative things we can't even imagine in laboratories. But problem is, we do not document them. They do not come into the limelight. They end up finishing, these technologies get and finished at their level itself. They are not even shared from see, again, the world is moving towards the brass utensils. Why? There has to be something in it.
Yes, sir.
But nowhere it is documented. Why everybody is saying, even here, take cinnamon and take kalonji and all that things to take care of COVID. Nowhere it is reported. But then our ancestors had that thinking. I was just reading it out of curiosity. 1918 plague did not harm India. Why? Because our immune system was developed at that time itself. And there, please remember, there was no Telegram and no WhatsApps and whatnot to share such information. So we are a repository of such knowledge. The problem is, we do not have the methodology to record such things. Sorry if I've taken more time. Yes, Dr. Mani.
Sir, one question in Q&A section, sir. Am I audible? Yes, sir.
Yes.
Sir, actually, in very good universities, we go for a seed funding for the researchers. Unfortunately, in some situation, if a young researcher is not getting the seed funding from the university, in that $1 million question, actually, yes, sir. How that young researcher can meet that situation?
Okay, I will give a practical experience. I will only share with you those things which you can use. I'm not into delivering a lecture which is high flying. Friends, there are two ways of doing things. I understand the predicament of a researcher. Funds are scarce and you do not have the money. My take is, and I will start with the social sciences first. Friends, there are large number of research agencies under United Nations, World Bank, Indian Monetary Fund, World Economic Forum, like this. What are these agencies? These agencies conduct research globally. Suppose somebody is evaluating the World Bank project of Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan, a pilot project of government, somewhere close to 18,000 crores. There is another very good project in India, National Rural Health Mission. Now, what are these projects, friends? These projects are World Bank sponsored projects. They have given money to Government of India. Government of India has given money to all these people. Fine. Now, don't you think that the money lender will like to take an independent view also, will like to take a feedback on such things? Why don't you write to United Nations saying that I am staying in a remote village 30 kilometers away from Chennai, or I am staying in a rural Bangalore area. I am interested in finding out the impact of World Bank sponsorship for Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan, Rural Health Mission. Write a letter to them. Find out who is the project patron. Write a letter to project patron, project principal investigator. Please remember, these principal investigators sitting in Swiss Bern or sitting in Canada or sitting in Geneva will not come to India to do these researches. They will need somebody to collect the data on their behalf in India. So why don't you collaborate with them? You will not be a principal investigator. You will not even be a co-investigator, but at least you will be data analyst. So you need to find out different ways of financing your research. I know it is not possible in all fields, but certainly you can make a try. And another thing, many of the good journals, please remember, if you send them a good idea, they will be more than keen to tie up with you and link you with some good research lab worldwide. Another format which is coming out is like this. Journals themselves requesting on the basis of your height citation, they will send you an email. You are doing wonderfully well. Will you like to collaborate with a similar project? This is, friends, how those of you who are in physics and material sciences and particles, there is an experiment by the name of CERN, CERN experiment, a Geneva-based CERN experiment. Do you know how many people are involved in this CERN experiment? You'll be very surprised. Close to 43,000 researchers are involved in one single project. So, friends, it is the finding out the right source of funding. Funds are not an issue. There is a separate session Dr. Mani has arranged for you. Yes. I think most of your questions will be answered there. Yes, any other?
Yes, sir. All are related to funds only, sir. I wanted to put a word
they thought that somebody from business management has come, so he will tell you all sorts
all
of
are impressed. By the way, your presentation is so focused in that. Yes,
sir. I have one.
But doctor, you gave me particular topic, so I'm limiting Vidya only to that part. So
anyway. Yes, I have one question here, sir. As a researcher, what we have to choose? We have to see the social problem and work on them, or we have to focus on what revolutionary movement is taking place and go with that.
See, please remember, maybe I'm an old classical antique piece now, but please remember, any research which does not have a societal implications, down the line, 10 years, 15 years, you will yourself feel bad that I could not contribute towards the emerging India. Please remember, it's an exciting time to be a researcher in India. Please remember, 34 out of top 51 companies in the world are headed by Indians. Please remember, 31% of the total persons working in the Silicon Valley are Indians. It's not done over a period of time. It is done by the teachers, professors who have groomed these people to think big. So by all means, follow your passion, but please remember, at the end of the day, you have certain national responsibilities also. We are even if I have studied in a so-called self-financing institution, please remember the amount of money which the government has spent on our education. And there is no way you can betray that trust. And especially when everybody is looking towards India, everybody is looking towards it. Do you think Facebook invested in the Jio out of nothing? Do you think that they did not do their scanning? Don't you think that Samsung is putting up their plant in Chennai for nothing? Detroit is coming to India for nothing? Why? What for? They can foresee the human potential. And Vidya and Mani, you are sitting at a prime space. Sorry, I wanted to search the amount of investments which are taking place in Chennai. Yes. It is close to $3 trillion projected over next 10 years. 3 trillion means almost 1/4 of Indian economy, yes, which is going to come in Tamil Nadu.
Yes, sir. The worst part is demographic dividend, sir.
Yes, yes. That's the best. You cannot gain out of it. And please remember, this will continue till 2050. So you have a demographic dividend for next 30 years. And do you know what is the average age in the Japan, which built on industrial revolution, which built on knowledge economy? It's close to 74 years. So where are Japanese companies going? Japanese are facing a problem. They are not able to get researchers for their labs. That is why they are running again and again and again to India. Come and join us, come and join us. They are not doing out of any charity, please. They can foresee what is happening. And it's a blessing in disguise what has happened. Why? Because in this whole episode, some of the countries have got exposed. I'll not name them, it's a public platform. Why should I?
Yes.
They have been exposed. So again, worldwide, everybody remembers that democratic government is the best form of governance. So friends, over a period of time, I'm very hopeful very bright future lies for all the young researchers. Only thing is they have to be very focused.
Thank you, sir. Last one. Good afternoon, sir. I am a student of political science, public administration. I'm planning to do research on citizen-related service and service delivery. So could you please suggest the area in which I could conduct research at grassroots level?
Since you are doing or planning to do a research in an area which is close to my heart, my immediate response to you will be, please do not think that those people who are living in rural areas are illiterate. They are much more knowledgeable than many of us. Two things I will like you to focus on. One, try to find out the e-governance, because most of the states have moved towards the e-governance area. Digital offering of services, that could be a wonderful platform. And second is, try to find out the penetration of digital payments in the rural area, because banks are also moving towards the rural areas. So these are the two areas which immediately come to my mind in case you want to focus on rural development. And please remember, these are the areas where large amount of foreign investments will also enter. But this is just off the cuff remark. I did not expect such a question, but then this is the best I could answer. Yes, anything else?
That's it, sir. Thank you so much. Wonderful.
Yes, remaining all our wishes, sir.
Praises and wishes. They want to know your LinkedIn name. They want to know your email address.
I will. Everything I've shared in the last PPT, my email address, everything is there.
Yes. Thank you so much, sir. Such a dynamic personality. We're really honored to have you here. So can I?
Prayer is all mine. Prayer is all mine.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Can I call our dean to deliver the vote of thanks, please? Okay, sir.
Sir, amazing day for all of us. Really a great session after so longer period. Really give good idea about how we can share our facilities, how we can go for CSR kind of research funding. CSR normally we go for some small training program like that, but you have given a new avenue which we can explore the opportunities. Really good motivational, yes, right word from the participant. Thank you, sir, for accepting our invitation and being part of this good event. I request Ganesh Babu already. Yes, thank you, Mr. Ganesh Babu. Sir, kindly accept our appreciation, sir. This letter is issued by our registrar.
Thank you.
Thanks for being part of this, sir. And of course, I place my humble request. Please do this kind of few more programs, not few, many programs for our university. We are really grateful to you. Such a great person who has more than 45 plus PhD. It's not a simple journey. I know how it is hard. So great day for all of us, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Mani. You know, I cannot refuse you. And I also know that. We have spent some great time together. Thank you, Dr. Saab. Thank you for giving me this honor. Thank you, Dr.
God bless you all.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yes, sir. Sir, another one more announcement. Just I wanted to give to participants. The results are readily available with Mr. Ganesh Babu. I request Ganesh Babu to convert the Excel sheet into PDF and post it in our WhatsApp group around 2:30. Ganesh, can you do that around 2:30?
Yes, sir.
I will. Yesterday assessment.
Yes, sir. I will do it, sir.
Yes.
Sir, can I leave the meeting?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Please.
Thank you so much, sir.
God
Nice
bless
meeting you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
God bless.